Hey, my fellow monkeys, Kaushik from the Thinking Monkey. This is the first video in the series of videos I'll be doing on human evil, trying to address the psychology driving such behaviors. The reason for doing this series serves two purposes. 1. To understand that humans have the capability of committing atrocious acts given the right conditions, unlike the religious or conventional belief that evil is fixed and within rather than mutable and without. The second purpose is to connect this part of my video series to the second interest of mine, which is moral philosophy. Okay, let's dive into what evil is. Let's try to define what evil is. Is it general delinquency? Or is there a gradation? Do situations matter? What about evil thoughts that arise in our mind? Is it considered evil? Or is it considered evil only if we act upon those thoughts? These are some of the nuanced questions we'll have to ask. We're trying to define what evil is. My argument is that it is a bunch of spectra within a larger spectrum of overall evil. And some of these are necessary evils also. For example, state violence in the form of police to maintain order in the society. Some wars like World War II to overthrow the Hitler regime. This sort of state-sanctioned violence is a necessary evil to maintain order in the society. So let's jump into the spectrum that I talked. There are two ends of the spectrum, as in one is mental abuse and the other end of the spectrum is physical abuse. So we can change the way in which this is framed, but this is how I framed it for this video. Okay, let's start talking about mental abuse. In mental abuse, in the area dedicated to mental abuse, there are multiple evils which in themselves have gradations, as in lying, deception, verbal abuse, indirect psychological abuse, verbal intimidation, blackmailing, persistent unwanted sexual innuendos, slander, and discrimination. And I'm sure that I have missed a lot other forms of evil, but these are some of the things that come to my mind. Next, physical abuse, stalking, stealing, bullying, physical intimidation, premeditated violence, murder, torture, rape, unwarranted wars, genocide, terrorism, mass murder, slavery, human trafficking. And again, these evil deeds can be placed anywhere along the spectrum of physical abuse. As in, it all depends on value judgments that each of us place on each of these evil deeds. There are certain general evil actions. We don't clearly know where they fall on the spectrum. So let's just call them general abuse or general evil. Some of the examples include animal abuse, environmental abuse, vandalism, sabotaging public property, hunting, bioterrorism, nuclear terrorism. So just to give you an example, let's take lying. In lying, there is a small gradation, or we can say there is a dichotomy. Lying to save your life or lying to save someone else's life. For example, let's consider that you were in the 1940s and genocide was at its full throttle. A Jew comes in search of refuge at your place and the Nazi SS men come and ask if some Jew is hiding in your place. Lying to save that person, is it considered evil? So the question that arises is an action bad in itself? Do we define an action as bad in itself? On the other hand, lying to get out of some commitment that you made with your friend, you can say that is an evil action. You are manipulative, or you don't have the guts to confront the situation and you use lying as an excuse or a way to get out of that commitment. What about deception? There are again gradations, as in a quack asking you to buy a product that makes you last longer in bed, for example. There is no scientific proof for that, but he uses deceptive language to activate certain parts of your brain that shut down your rational systems. Deception using propaganda to commit genocide. So again, these are gradations. Similarly, bullying in the school, which is considered normal until it crosses a line. Bullying in your workplace by your boss or your immediate manager. Cyberbullying. So you get the general idea that evil is prevalent. And I forgot the name of the person who said this. There is this thing called banality of evil. That evil is not some sensationalistic thing. It is present in all of us. It's just that it is latent, and given the right circumstances, we are all capable of evil. As I told, the placement of each of these evil deeds on this spectrum is based on the value judgment that people place on each of these deeds. For example, some people say psychological abuse is graded along the same lines as torture, but it is not universally accepted. Intuitively, we feel that torture is rather on the most extreme end of the spectrum and is considered the worst. Again, this is not a semantic argument that we are trying to make. We are trying to understand where evil comes from. This is a tough area which is messy and hard to untangle and reach a consensus upon. So the goal of this series is to try and untangle this mess. I might not be successful in doing so. I sure will try to go deep into each of these evils or each part of the spectrum as I learn more. Having said that, there is going to be a lot of differences in opinion due to the value judgments that we place on these deeds. Which is why I will try to appeal to the scientific method to make value judgments whenever possible. That is the only objective way of measuring each of these evil deeds. And there is not a lot of data on different types of evil. So we'll have to rely on our intuitions also some of the times. So this part which doesn't have scientific data to back up our intuitions or counter our intuitions, these areas will always remain messy, and the position of these deeds on the spectrum of evil will continuously be up for debate. In the next video, we will try and explore the perspectives used to explain evil and attribute probable causes of evil actions, mostly deeds that are going to be towards the extreme ends of the spectrum. Until then, take care, be good, out.